Welcome to today's presentation, Top 5 PDF Tips and Tricks with Adobe Acrobat. It's now my pleasure to turn the floor over to your first presenter for today. That is Tony Lista, Document Cloud National Sales Manager Education with Adobe. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you very much, Phil. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. As Phil said, I'm Tony Lista, and I'm in Boston today. And on behalf of Adobe, thank you very much for joining us. The topic, as Phil said, is Top 5 PDF Tips and Tricks with Adobe Acrobat. We're excited to show newer users and more experienced users the Acrobat interface and some very cool demos that my colleague Monica Kim will be showing later on. And perhaps we might even be able to show you a trick or two that you weren't aware of. But before we get started, I want to just go over some resources that you can refer to and may be useful for you as you pick up some bits of information today. We have some on-demand webinars. These are webinars that myself and others have presented regarding Acrobat and Sign and some of the advanced features that are available to you. We recommend that you take a look at these. Particularly, I'd like to call out a couple of them that our feedback has been pretty good on that. One called the Acrobat Sign in Microsoft Teams. This is great for organizations that collaborate using Microsoft products, particularly Outlook and Teams. And we show some great features that are available with the native integrations between Acrobat and Sign. The next one below that is Acrobat Sign in Workday and Acrobat Sign in Microsoft integrations. I bring those two up because a lot of times our clients, particularly in education, nonprofit, and for our commercial clients that may be on board today, you're oftentimes looking for ways to interface with your main CRM system or your main record-keeping system, ERP system. And Acrobat and Sign have got some built-in integrations that will help with things like employee onboarding. We use it ourselves here in Adobe. Workday is our HR platform, and many of our employees go through a full seamless onboarding process. So I call those two out as ones that you might want to take advantage of down the road. Today, we're going to be paying attention to Acrobat, and Monica will be showing you some tricks. The 4 or 5 bullet points here are going to be the areas that we're going to be concentrating on. And what we ask you to do is, as you take a look at these tricks, think about the ways that they might be integrated into the work that you do in your role. And we ask you to think a little bit out of the box. Okay, one more step before we dive into it. I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about who you are, how familiar you are with the product Acrobat, how you use it, whether or not you're an intermediate or beginner, and if you got a chance to give us a little bit what you're looking for as takeaways today. Typically what we see is the makeup of our attendees tend to be more on the IT side, and we have about 54% of you that are on the IT side, and then the business areas, finance and HR, that typically runs between 15 and 20%, and you're hanging in there as well. The other good news is that you appear to be either intermediate users or experts. That's a good thing, because the tricks that we're going to show you today will help you move from being a beginner to an intermediate or an expert, and we're delighted that you're taking a chance here to provide us with this feedback. We thank you very much. Moving on to the next step here is so even though the title of the session today is around the 5 tips and tricks for PDF, this is really in the context of a digital transformation process that your organization may be going through. So again, what we ask you to do is to think about the tips and tricks here, and then think about the ways that you may be wanting to take your organization to the next level of digital transformation. A June 2020 EDUCAUSE study defined digital transformation as a series of deep and coordinated culture, workforce, technology shifts that enable new educational and operating models and transform an institution's operations, strategic directions, and value proposition. That's a mouthful, but that's how EDUCAUSE, those of you that are familiar with that institution, in a study that they did in 2020, looked at the various pieces. I like to take it into a little bit less of a mouthful, and I think of it this way: is that the reality is that for those of you that are embarking on this type of model where you're digitizing or using Acrobat, what you're likely trying to do is convert paper into digital documents, or maybe move it from the next step of that, which is to include some advanced features like electronic signatures or e-payments. And then for the really spirited in heart, you might want to take it to the very next step, which is to incorporate advanced document workflow, where you're able to connect various systems. I spoke earlier on about Workday and doing faculty and staff onboarding, for example. That would be an advanced feature where you incorporate the built-in interfaces and you take that document in a digitized workflow and move it through steps where somebody might sign it, add content, and then once it's signed, it updates a back-end system. So regardless of the journey that you're taking, whether or not it's a simple digitation or a simple e-signature or a more comprehensive integration, Adobe can help you with your needs, and we look forward to providing you some thought processes in the demo you'll see shortly on how to do that. COVID motivated many of our clients into digital transformation. Sign-in Acrobat assisted our clients with transforming their office-based paper processes to digital paper and remote work processes. Might sound like a little bit of a sales attempt here, but I work with around 400 clients a year, speaking with them about using Acrobat and Sign. And it's been proven to me time and time again that our products will help clients with electronic signatures and workflow automate their highly paper-intensive processes. And in just a few minutes, we're going to show you a few more things, a few more areas where that might work for you. For those of you that are beginning the paper process, the digital transformation journey, what do you need to consider? Thinking about a document journey of one of your organization's document workflows, consider every stage from document creation through collaboration. And when I say collaboration, if you're an area where you need to collaborate with other departments, or you use Microsoft Teams, collaborating in that area, whether or not you need signatures internally or externally, and what happens with that document when everybody signed it, where do you need to store it? So thinking of all those pieces together, where the document starts, what you need to do to it, that's really how you think of a paper-based workflow, which about 80% of education now is impacted by paper, and how you think about manipulating it and moving it to a paperless workflow. So making the shift makes all the difference in the world, and how you go about doing it and what you automate can make a huge difference. For our K-12 clients, think of IEPs, parent authorization forms, school board minutes. And in our higher education and K-12 world, think about automating things like faculty and staff onboarding. Think about the paper-intensive nature of that, or updates to collective bargaining agreements. For our higher education clients, think about things like career services. Think about the work that goes down around recruiting and admissions, and for fundraising and constituent engagement in the nonprofit space. All of these areas, which are paper intensive, can be made more efficient and make your organization able to service its constituents and its clients better by digitizing and moving from paper-based processes to digitized processes. A couple of more things I want to point out. Again, these are not meant to be selling, but more informational for you. We like to bring up the fact that PDFs, 250 billion PDFs are opened each year by our customers around the world. And for those of you that are in a Microsoft environment using Outlook, 40% of every attachment that you receive is a PDF. So think about the ways that those files are brought to you. Think about the ways that you manipulate those files. And think about the demo that Monica is going to be showing you shortly, and see if there's some ideas that you can generate for yourself about ways you can automate and make your business transformation more seamless and easier for your organization. This is a study I like to show. It's a Forrester study. This is across all industries, not just education, nonprofit, but the commercial space as well. Organizations that put in PDF, digital transformation, and electronic signatures have demonstrated these improvements in efficiencies and returns. So again, besides the actual products that you already own, the return on investment for these products can be multiplied by using the strength of these products across your organization. And while money isn't always a motivator, we like to show these to our clients so they do have a basis for making some decisions on further automation and digital transformation. In all of the cases above that I'm showing you, using paper-based forms and wet signatures requires a ton of time, cross-coordination, departments, and individuals with legwork. Think again about automating operations, vendor agreements, employee onboarding, student services, and the business areas of your organization. One last slide, and then I'll bring it home and let Monica show you the real meat of the things. One of the things that we like to point out, and again, we'll ask you to consider this as you're seeing Monica's demonstration, is that I focused on education, but education, nonprofit, and the commercial space rely on Adobe Acrobat and Sign. Why? Our products are easy to use. Our user interface for all of our products looks the same across product lines. We have a trusted level of security. We invented the PDF. Everything about the PDF in terms of your world, we set up and put in the compliance parameters. So what we like to say is our products are compliance ready, HIPAA ready. And what we mean by ready is they're ready for you to use and put in your organization. We are the accessibility leader for those of you in a space where you deal with individuals that have reading challenges. Our products have got full accessibility capabilities so that reading impaired individuals can use them. Deep integrations. I talked earlier on about Microsoft. That's one of the integration partners. We've got integrations with a number of CRM, ERP, and database providers. And those allow us to have built-in APIs, in many cases native APIs that allow us to talk easily with front-end and back-end applications. And our products are easy to deploy. We provide services to help you get set up quick and easy. And you've become familiar with our products, our Creative Cloud and our other products, and they're all fully integrated and work together in a solution. Thank you again for your patience while I provided this context and overview. Next, what I'd like to do is introduce my colleague, Monica Kim. Monica is going to be showing the deep details of our PDF and the 5 tips and tricks. Monica, it's all yours.
Thank you, Tony. Let me share my screen. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Monica Kim and I'm a solution consultant for Document Cloud. And so for this demo, I'm a sixth grade teacher that is preparing for an upcoming class trip that's happening soon. I need to create the permission slip and I want my fellow sixth grade teacher, Mrs. Park, to view this PDF and let me know if it's okay to send to our students' parents. I know that my students are always losing their permission slips and forgetting to have their parents sign it. So this time, I want to use Acrobat Pro to edit the document that I was working on, share it with my teacher, Mrs. Park, and then send it out to the parents for signature electronically. So right over here, I'm in Acrobat Online, and this is very similar to the desktop UI. I want to show you how you can work with PDFs in your browser really easily. And so with Acrobat Pro, it's really easy to use all of the tools and access all of them in one place. So I'm on the home page, and at the top where it says All Tools, I can click on that. And then you'll be able to see that I have access to these apps and the editing capabilities. So I can edit the text and images, I can add comments, I can combine files, organize pages, etc. Not only that, I'll be able to convert these files. So if it's a PDF, I can convert that to a Word document, PowerPoint, Excel, JPEG. I can also convert it from a Word to a PDF and a PowerPoint to a PDF, and etc. With the e-signing capabilities, I can complete a form and add my own signature. I can also request e-signatures. I can add a signature and sign it myself. I can create an e-sign template. I can create a web form to add it to my website and share that link. And I can also send in bulk. And so with this one, I can send a document to many people at once to sign individually. And so for the demo today, I'm going to show you a bit of these features while sending out and creating the permission slip. So if I go back to the top, next to the Home tab, there's a Document tab. So here, this is where I'll access the permission slip that I was working on earlier. So if I go into this folder, grade 6 permission slips, I'll open this permission slip right over here. So I'm doing all of this on my browser. And so this is the permission slip that I was working on earlier. And if I look at it, everything looks good, but it looks like something is missing. And I want to make sure I'm not missing anything so that when I share it to my colleague, Mrs. Park, there aren't as many edits I need to make. So at first glance, I realize I'm missing my Altura Middle School logo. But doing that, editing that and adding it is really simple. So at the top left, I can click on Edit. And this is where I can do quite a few things. So I can add content like add text. I can also add images. And I can also use the design tools from Adobe Express. Like I can stylize the PDF. I can design a new page. I can add stock images. And there are also other options. I can organize the pages, combine the files, crop pages, and number the pages. But for now, all I need to do is add the logo. So let me click on Add Image. And I get this window right over here where I can add image from my recent files, my document library, my computer, my OneDrive. And if I click on Add an Account, so you'll see here, I can sign into my OneDrive account to access my storage online from OneDrive, or I can also sign in with Google to access my Google Drive documents. But today, I'm going to access from my computer, and I'll click on Add a File from my device. My logo is right over here, my Altura Middle School logo. I'll click Open, and boom, it was added right into the middle, but that's not where I want it. So I'll just click on the image, drag it to the top left corner, and on the bottom right, I'll minimize this image because I don't want it to be so big. So you'll notice that when I click this image and made it bigger or smaller, I'm able to keep the proportions of the image. It's not going to look squished. It's not going to look funky. It looks the same proportion, just smaller than before. So that looks good. Now I know, okay, I want to share this with my colleague. And if I want to share it with my colleague, at the top right, you'll see this icon with a person and a plus sign. So I can share this document with others to view or comment. So that's what I'm going to do. So Mrs. Park's email is, if I click here, I'll add her email address right over here. And if I want to, I can also add a message. So I'm going to say, Mrs. Park, please review this permission slip we were discussing earlier. Thank you. Now I'll click on invite. It's creating a shared link, and I'll get this green notification at the bottom to let me know that it's been successfully saved with my colleague. So now I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and I'll show you the point of view from Mrs. Park's perspective. So I'm going to go into Mrs. Park's email. So this is the Acrobat Pro Demo 100 at gmail.com email. And you'll see that I got this email from Mrs. Kim. If I click into it, it says that Mrs. Kim has shared the permission slip and that I can also comment on it. And I also see that she sent a message along with this. It says, Mrs. Park, please review this permission slip we were discussing earlier. Thank you. Yeah, I remember talking about that. So let me click on open. And this is where I can view the PDF right from my browser again. So this is the permission slip. And I like how she added the logo. That looks really good. I like the placement of it. But the first thing I notice as an English major is that the spelling of permission is incorrect. So I want to let her know that she needs to change that. So on the left, you'll see this comment bubble. If I click on it, I can add this comment bubble anywhere on this document. In this case, I want to add it right where the spelling error is so that she can look directly at that message. So right over here, I'll type in at Mrs. Kim, spelling is incorrect. Well, let me see if there's anything else she needs to add. The cover page. We decided to include a cover page along with this permission slip. So I'll let her know spelling is incorrect and please add cover page. Everything else looks great to send. So I'm going to post that. Now my job is done. I reviewed the document, I added my comment, and now Mrs. Kim just needs to edit the document and send it out to her students' parents. So let me switch gears again, and I'll go back into the point of view from Mrs. Kim. So if I refresh the page, back in my Adobe Acrobat browser, I can see that there is a comment bubble added right over here. And on the right, if I click on this comment bubble, I can edit or reply to these messages. So I see that Mrs. Park wrote, spelling is incorrect and please add cover page. Everything else looks great to send. You're right. The spelling for permission is totally wrong. So editing it again is really simple. So I'll click on edit. And this is going to tell me that I need to create a copy to modify, which makes sense. I want to create a copy because I don't want the students' parents to see the comments that I've been making with Mrs. Park on this document. So I'm going to create a new one, right? New copy. It says permission slip 1. And then I'm going to add an S over here. And I also remember that I need to add the cover page. So on the left-hand side, I'll click on Combine Files. And I'll be able to add a file here. I can also design a new page from Adobe Express if I want to. But in this case, I already created a cover page earlier. So I'll click on Add Files, add the plus sign. And again, I can add files from my recent, my document library, and my other online storages, or just from my computer, which is exactly what I'm going to do. Going to click on add a file from my device. And the cover page is right over here, the 2023 class trip permission slip. Click on open. Boom, it was added. But I do not like this list view. So if I go to the right, you'll see that right now it's on list view. But if I click on the top one, I can change it to grid view, which allows me to see a preview of these documents. So if I hover over to the first document, the permission slip, I can click on expand pages right over here, and it shows me that there are 2 pages within the document. For this one, I know that the cover page needs to go on the first and be the first page. So I'm going to move that over. I'm going to click it and drag it over. If I wanted to, I could add it to the middle between these two pages, but that doesn't make sense in this instance. So I'm going to keep it back and put it back into the first page, but I could do that if I wanted to. So now that everything is set up the way I need it to be, I'm going to click on Combine, and it's going to save and combine my new file. So now my combined PDF is ready. Now I want to send it for signature to my students' parents. And so I need to also include and fill out the destination information, the departure site and time, return site and time, because parents won't know that information. So I need to fill that out myself. So if I click on e-sign, I can use my mouse and start clicking and then typing anywhere. So the destination would be Stokes. I can also include the departure site. But for today's demo, I'm going to show you something I already filled out just to save some time. So this is the information that I've already pre-filled out. So this is the class information. It includes Mrs. Kim and Mrs. Park. Destination is Stokes. The departure site is from the school, includes a time for the departure and return, the mode of transportation, and the purpose of the trip. And now what I want to do is I want to send it out for signature. And what the parents need to do is they need to include the name of the student and if there are any activities that the child can't participate in, and if there are any special dietary and medication needs, and then they can sign the bottom. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to click Request e-signatures, and this is where Adobe Acrobat sign pops up. I'll include the agreement name, Stokes permission slip, and as I mentioned earlier, I can send in bulk, but for the purpose of today's demo, I'll just include one parent's email, and that is Mr. Flynn Ryder. So this is one of my students' parents. So what I can do is I can click on Preview and Add Fields, and this is where I can add text fields and signature fields for my recipients to fill out. So for example, I'll show you how to do that. I scroll down. If I just click here, they need to fill out the text field with the name. Also, they need to include if there are any activities that the child should not participate in. So I'll click there. Another area is if there are any special dietary or medication needs, they need to fill that out. And also, I want them to include a phone number. So instead of a text field, I can include a phone number field. So I'll click on number, click right over here, and I can also customize the field. So instead of just having a number format, I can change it to have a phone number format. And if needed, it can be a currency, percent, time, or US social number. So for today, it's just going to be a phone number. And then right over here, this is where I'll add the e-signature portion. So I'll click on e-signature. This is a signature field. And I'll click on date and add the date field. Now everything is good to go to send to Mr. Flynn Ryder. So I'll just click on send. And then I was able to successfully send this for signature electronically. And now I want to show you the point of view from Mr. Flynn Ryder. So if I go into his email, you'll see that I just got an email requesting for my signature on the Stokes permission slip. So let me click on review and sign. So now I'm opening this up and I'm able to click on start. I see that this is for the class trip. And let me fill out my child's name, Toby Ryder. And then I could just click on next, and that'll take me to the next form field I need to fill out. There aren't any activities my child should not participate in, but my child Toby does have some special dietary needs, gluten-free. Click on next. Now I need to include a phone number. So I'm going to click on, or I'm going to write my phone number. That's done. I can click here to sign. And there's multiple ways I can sign this document. So I can type it out. It's already been typed out for me right over here. I can also draw with my mouse or my trackpad. I can go like that. or I can also upload an image of my signature. And if I want, I can input my phone number so that I can easily get a link on my phone and then sign with my finger. Today, I'm just gonna type it in, Flynn Rider, and click on apply. And then I'll also include today's date. So today is November 30th, 2023. So I get this indication that I'm done, and I can click to sign. And now it's done. So if I take you back to the point of view from the sender, Mrs. Kim, I can go into either my email or the Manage tab within Adobe Acrobat Sign, and I can see what has been completed. So you'll see here that Flynn Rider just completed this agreement. I can download the audit report. I can also open the agreement to see what it looks like and what type of information he has filled out. And if I needed, if, for example, Mr. Flynn Rider did not sign it, I can go back into my Manage tab. If I look at things that are in progress, so things that have not been signed and they are currently out for signature. For example, this is something else I sent out earlier. If I wanted to, I can click on this clock icon to remind anybody that hasn't sent out any or that hasn't signed any of the permission slips. So I can have them have a reminder daily until they complete it, or however frequently I want it. Or I can send it right now so that they get an email in their inbox telling them that they need to sign the permission slip as soon as possible. So with Acrobat Pro, I was able to do a lot. I was able to create, edit, collaborate with my colleague, Mrs. Park. I was also able to combine and organize the files. I could fill out the form and even send it for signature. And so this has made my process of sending out these permission slips really easily, and I don't have to chase my students down to see if they have their parents sign the permission slip. It made my life easy, and I know it will make your life easier too. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll turn it back to Tony.
Wow, Monica, that was fantastic. Every time I get a chance to see Monica or one of our other colleagues in the solutions area doing one of these demos, I pick up a little nugget of information that I use in my professional and personal lives. Hopefully you were able to pick up a little nugget for yourselves, and we're able to see some areas that might be useful for you. What I want to do now is provide you a little bit more information that you can use for next steps if you want to look at things in a little bit of a deeper dive, some things that you saw today, do your own tutorials, or to create some test cases that you can work with. These links below, which you can click on, provide you the context for doing those types of things. So you can go to a Get Started guide. You can look at tutorials, create some custom workflows. These are all hands-on processes. Each one of these provide a very useful information that can help you get to the next step in using Acrobat for digital workflows. Of course, feel free to reach out either to your reselling partner, or if you'd like to reach out to one of us, feel free to reach out to me. My email address is lista@adobe.com. My last name is next to my my mugshot in the upper left-hand corner of the screen here. So we encourage you to take a look at these links. And as next steps, after you've had a chance to look at these links and provide some information, check out the on-demand webinars that I showed you earlier on. They'll take some of the useful information and show you live examples of that, like Monica did today. And if you need additional information, again, reach out to either myself at lista@adobe.com, or your reselling partner or your reps. We're happy to provide you any additional information that would be useful. What we'd like to do now, we've been spending a little bit of time going through Q&A in the window here. Well, what we'd like to do, Phil, if that's okay, is open this up to more of a Q&A period where Monica and I and some of my other colleagues can help answer questions you might have.
Okay, there was a question that came in that Tony is more sales related.
Yes.
And the question was, if we purchase Acrobat Pro, how many licenses do we get for the campus users?
Well, there's a couple of different licensing models, and I can't go over all the specifics with you today, but what I can tell you is that the licensing options that are available are based on the agreement that either you have with your reseller or with Adobe Direct. Typically, they fall into 2 or 3 major categories. A Teams license, think of a lab where those that sign on to a lab device can use the license for the period of time that they're signed on to that lab device. And the other type of licensing options are enterprise options, where those licenses are provisioned to you based on what I would refer to as your Adobe ID or some other credential, and your IT people would help provision those things. We can get into deeper discussions about that, and I'd prefer to do those more one-on-one because our clients have different licensing options. But suffice it to say that we can either get them out to you in a Teams, a named, or an enterprise approach, and the licensing is usually a one-to-one where you need the license in order to do some of these functions.
Okay, Monica, this one's for you. How do I make a PDF fillable?
Great question. So as I showed you earlier, when you go into Adobe Acrobat, when you click on Edit, you can also click, or next to Edit, there's also a button for e-sign. And right when you click on e-sign, you can start filling this document yourself.
Okay, next question. The question is, have you used Adobe Sign for HR documents, and what are the securities and legalities? Yeah, I don't know who wants to answer.
Well, I'll take a first stab at it, Cindy. I mentioned earlier during the earlier discussion, which, by the way, I appreciate your patience. We have to do some setup for these things, and I know many of you like to dive into the demos quickly. But I mentioned in the earlier discussion that Adobe itself uses Workday for HR. And what we do during our employee onboarding process and other employee changes is that Sign and Acrobat are used for the offer letters. And size of Adobe, an international company, we do not have any issues with compliance or HIPAA. So as I mentioned earlier on, these products are HIPAA ready and compliant ready. And I use that term carefully because readiness implies that the product will meet your needs, but the needs are partially on you as an institution or organization to have the internal controls in place. So the shorter answer is our products will work fine for HR onboarding. Workday is a spotlight that I talked about. There are other options for creating the interfaces to do this work, and they are compliant ready. Thank you.
Okay, next one. Is a digital signature the same as e-signing?
I can take that. So they are different, and we do have some helpful resources regarding that. The differences between e-signature and the differences between digital signatures. So I can definitely include that link in the chat so that people can access that and read it.
Okay.
I'll do that right now.
Next question. Is there a way, if you have 2 participants in a signature or an agreement and they need a signature, do they have to be completed in order?
I can.
Sure.
Go ahead, Monica.
Go ahead.
So I was going to just say there's a couple of different ways to look at this, and my answer may be a little bit different than where Monica was going to go to it. Within Acrobat itself, The order in which that you put the signature requests are the order in which we're going to look for those things to be signed. If an error happens and somebody signs them out of order, Monica showed you the workspace where you can see outstanding signatures. If you have a need to control things so that one person can't sign it until the next person signs it, there may need to be some advanced features that you may need to put in place, and we may need to talk with you about another product called Sign, which allows some of those controls to be in place. There are other controls that you can be put in place with just Acrobat itself. Those would require some additional integrations with things like Power Automate, for example. But Monica, feel free to jump in there and add any extra stuff that I didn't cover.
Yeah, no, Tony, right? He said it perfectly. Within Adobe Acrobat Sign, you can definitely, there's a checkbox where you can select whether the recipients must sign in order, or they can just be sent to everybody so that whoever signs it first, that's the first signer. It doesn't matter. So you can select that checkbox whether or not, like, so the sender would have to indicate whether or not the recipients must sign in order or not.
The next question is, does the automatic form setup create the tag structure in order and pass accessibility?
Wow.
I can take this one if you guys are okay.
Wow, that's a great question. Go ahead.
So we do have automatic tagging, or the tagging feature for accessibility in Acrobat Pro. So you would want to run that on your form. And then you can check the tag structure, like the order, the tagging order for the different fields. You can check that through the feature in Acrobat as well. Because yes, we can like do the best we can, with AI to automatically set this up for you, but you should also review it manually to make sure it is in the order that you were expecting. This is a good one. Is Acrobat Sign the same as DocuSign?
Well, I'll start it out and then maybe let my colleagues that are closer to the technology, speak to that. So we look at the products in terms of the requirements as at a high level, they are very similar. So they control electronic signatures and they control the order in which signatures are done and how they work. Where we differ is how we go about getting the signatures. We call our signatures within Sign a transaction, and they call their signatures within DocuSign envelopes. We do our transactions slightly different than envelopes. The other thing that we believe we have an advantage on are some of the native integrations that I spoke about earlier on. For those of you that are Microsoft shops, use Office 365, use Teams, use OneDrive. All of our products are natively integrated so that you don't really have to do anything to make them work together. You can open up a PDF file right out of your Office 365 environment. You can request a signature right out of your Teams environment. And you can access documents the way that Monica had done it earlier on, directly out of OneDrive, and do the edit features that you need. We require no integrations to do that. Our approach is fully integrated where the other vendors are not. There are a few other things that I could go into, but what I'd like to do rather than do high level is if you have specific questions around DocuSign and Sign, I'd love to have a quick meeting with you, Ron. So if it's something that you'd like to take a deeper dive on, let's set some time aside and have a discussion.
Okay, thank you, Tony and Monica, for answering the questions today, and this will complete the live Q&A.
Thank you, everybody.